New Zealand's South Island is one of the most beautiful road trips in the world, but it's also one of the hardest to plan. The weather can cancel your biggest excursions.
Sounds good. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Sounds like your helicopter tour is canceled once again. Driving takes a lot longer than it looks like on the map, and knowing where to stay can completely change your experience. In this video, we're taking you on our 1 week South Island road trip from Queenstown to Lake Tekapo and Mount Cook, showing you what surprised us, what was worth the money, what wasn't, and what we would do differently if we came back. This is what it's really like to take a New Zealand South Island road trip. New Zealand's South Island has two major airports, Christchurch and Queenstown. While they look close on the map, they're actually about 6 hours apart. So choose carefully based off of your travel itinerary. And no matter which airport you fly into, more than likely you're going to fly initially into Auckland. If you decide to spend some time on the North Island, be sure to check out our other videos for itinerary ideas. Since we only had 1 week, we decided to spend time between two home bases, 3 nights in Queenstown and 3 nights in Lake Tekapo. That gave us time to explore those areas and then take in some unforgettable day trips without constantly packing up and moving. Of course, choosing where to stay also depends on how you plan to travel around the South Island. For most visitors, the two main options are renting a camper van or renting a car. While camper vans are a popular choice, we thought it might be a little bit too stressful for our first time on the South Island, so we decided to do a rental car and just stay in Airbnbs. Our South Island adventure started with 3 nights in Queenstown. Just 15 minutes from the Queenstown airport, we arrived at our Airbnb. Now, there's a couple of main advantages of staying in a rental versus a hotel. One of the biggest ones is access to laundry, which really helps us to pack light for our trips. The other reason is to have access to a kitchen. New Zealand restaurant prices were pretty high, so even being able to cook just a few meals saves a lot of money. Switching over to things to do in Queenstown. New Zealand is all about nature, so if you enjoy hiking, one of our favorite trails was the Shotover Gorge Trail. It's an easy to moderate hike that packs a lot into a relatively short distance. Along the way, you'll cross a beautiful suspension bridge, wind through narrow switchbacks, walk through a tunnel carved into the rocks, and overlook the bright blue waters of the Shotover River below. It felt like we were walking through several completely different landscapes in a single hike. This trail also offers one of the best views of one of Queenstown's most famous adventure experiences. Queenstown is often called the adventure capital of New Zealand, and honestly, I could see why. Watching the Shotover jet boats race through the narrow canyons was incredible. These boats skim just inches from the canyon walls before spinning a full 360 in the river. Even if you don't ride one, the suspension bridge along the hiking trail is a fantastic place to watch them in action. Another attraction we didn't know about until after arriving was the hydro attack. It's part jet ski, part shark, part submarine. Riders actually dive underwater before bursting back out of the lake. It looked like a lot of fun, but it does come with a hefty price tag for a 15-minute ride. If we ever came back to Queenstown, one of the experiences I would definitely add to our itinerary is canyoning with canyon explorers. Climbing waterfalls, rappelling through narrow canyons, and jumping into crystal clear pools look like an unforgettable way to experience the landscape. But Queenstown isn't just about adrenaline. The downtown area is incredibly walkable with restaurants, shops, breweries, and one of the best waterfront settings anywhere in New Zealand. If you're only going to do one thing in Queenstown, we'd recommend taking the Skyline Gondola. In just a few minutes, you're rewarded with incredible panoramic views over the lake, with the remarkable mountain range behind and the entire town below. At the top, there's a few restaurants and bars where you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the view. Whether you're looking for a quick bite after a day of exploring or a special meal to celebrate your trip, Queenstown has plenty of great options. One of the most popular burger restaurants is Ferg Burger. The burgers were huge. It was good, but in all honesty, it wasn't the best burger I've ever had, and the line is always super long, so don't plan on this being a quick bite. Right off the Shotover Gorge Trail is Canyon Brewing. We've been to hundreds of breweries, and this one has made it into our top 10. Good beer, excellent food, and incredible views. Definitely a place you should check out. New Zealand is home to more than 700 wineries and produces about 1% of the world's wine, so there are plenty of incredible places to enjoy a glass. But for one special afternoon, we decided to splurge on the Michelin-starred lunch tasting menu with wine pairings at Amisfield. Every course felt like a surprise. Butter was presented to look like river stones.
That's the butter. That's it.
I think that one's the butter too. Our venison main course was prepared tableside, searing the venison right in front of us.
But I will use Japanese technique with the coal, with the charcoal, with the meat.
And dessert featured deer milk ice cream, sculptured into an antler and drizzled with beet honey sauce. It wasn't just a fantastic meal, it was also one of the most creative and memorable dining experiences we've had. A big advantage of staying in Queenstown is that it makes a great base for exploring some of the surrounding regions on day trips. Milford Sound is one of New Zealand's most iconic natural attractions, famous for its towering cliffs, cascading waterfalls, and dramatic fjord scenery. On the map, Milford Sound looks pretty close to Queenstown, but is actually a 4-hour drive, so many visitors choose to see it by scenic flight or helicopter instead, which was our plan. But New Zealand's weather can change in an instant, and despite trying on 2 different days, our helicopter tour was canceled both times. Great. Sounds like our helicopter tour is canceled once again. With our Milford Sound plans canceled, we decided to spend the day exploring Wanaka, about an hour from Queenstown. Sometimes the journey is just as memorable as the destination, and that was definitely the case here. Crossing the Crown Range felt like driving through the Scottish Highlands, with rolling hills, rugged mountains, and incredible views around every corner. It ended up being one of our favorite drives on the trip. Our first stop in Wanaka was the Wanaka Lavender Farm. Even though we visited in early March at the very end of lavender season, there were still fields of vibrant purple blooms throughout the property. We can only imagine how beautiful it must be at peak bloom. After wandering through the gardens and meeting some friendly farm animals, we treated ourselves to homemade lavender honey ice cream, and it was every bit as delicious as it sounds. The entire farm was beautiful, relaxing, and well worth the stop if you're driving through Wanaka. Just a short drive from the lavender farm, you'll find the shores of Lake Wanaka. The waterfront is a great place for a leisurely walk with beautiful views of the lake and surrounding mountains. Just be prepared for the wind. In fact, the prevailing winds are so strong that many of the lakeside trees have grown permanently bent in one direction, including the famous That Wanaka tree. It's worth a quick stop, but when we visited, there were dozens of people waiting to take photos, so we actually enjoyed the rest of the lakeshore much more. As much as we love the Queenstown region, we barely scratched the surface. But with only 1 week in the South Island, it was time to continue north to Lake Tekapo. Known for its turquoise water and some of the darkest skies in the world, it's also the perfect base for exploring Aoraki Mount Cook National Park, making it an easy choice for the second half of our trip. We spent the next 3 nights at this beautiful Airbnb just a short walk from town. It had everything we needed for a comfortable stay, including a full kitchen where we cooked several of our meals. And that's especially helpful because Lake Tekapo is a very small town with only a handful of restaurants, and some are not even open every day. That said, we still had a chance to try a few local delicacies, like the Better Batter food truck, where we warmed up with delicious calamari and chips after a chilly afternoon by the lake. Another unexpected treat wasn't actually in Lake Tekapo. On the drive to Mount Cook, we stopped at the Lake Pukaki Visitor Center, where we discovered incredible fresh salmon sashimi overlooking one of the bluest lakes we've ever seen. After spending our days exploring, it was the perfect place to relax. With our home base set, we spent the next few days exploring Lake Tekapo and the Mount Cook region. While the weather didn't always cooperate, it led to one of the most unforgettable experiences of our trip. One of the biggest draws to Lake Tekapo is that it's part of the Aoraki Mackenzie International Dark Sky Reserve. Strict lighting regulations help keep light pollution to a minimum, making it an incredible place to photograph the Milky Way. One thing we didn't know is about the Dark Sky Project at Mount John Observatory, which offers guided stargazing experiences using powerful telescopes. If we ever come back, that's definitely something we would add to our itinerary. One activity we did do was a 4x4 tour through the surrounding high country. It was a fun way to explore the area, but with Mount Cook hidden behind the clouds, we felt like we were missing what makes the landscape so special. Mount Cook's supposed to be right there in the distance. Since the weather was not cooperating, the tour guide did a great job of shifting focus, showing us the local farming culture. Hoping for better luck, we headed to Mount Cook National Park the next morning to hike the famous Hooker Valley Track. One tip before you go, when we arrived, cars were lined down the road for what felt like miles because it was free parking. However, we opted to pay the $3 an hour or $15 for the entire day to park much closer to the trailhead, and for us, it was well worth the money. Typically, the Hooker Valley Track is a relatively easy 6-mile hike in and back with multiple suspension bridges and incredible views of New Zealand's highest mountain. But when we were there, most of the trail was closed with only 2 miles of hiking out and back, and Mount Cook was still hiding from us. From the same parking area, you can also hike the short Kia Point track, which offers a great view of Mueller Glacier. Like many of New Zealand's glaciers, it has retreated dramatically over the last century, leaving behind Mueller Lake, a glacial lake that continues to grow as the ice melts. We left Mount Cook National Park disappointed that the clouds had hidden New Zealand's tallest mountain all day. But New Zealand weather can change in an instant. And on the drive back to Lake Tekapo, the wind shifted, the clouds parted, and Mount Cook finally revealed itself. Little did we know we were about to receive the best phone call of our trip. We had booked a Scenic Flight with air safaris for the following day, but they called to say that the weather had unexpectedly cleared and conditions were perfect for flying. They had an opening that afternoon and asked if we wanted to take it. Not wanting to miss our chance, we jumped at the opportunity. Our pilot was fantastic, giving us information about the entire area as we flew around. For the next 50 minutes, we flew over turquoise lakes, glaciers, snow-capped peaks, and valleys that looked almost too perfect to be real. It was one of those experiences that is impossible to fully capture on camera. At $285 per person, it was one of the more expensive activities on our itinerary, but if we had to do it all over again, we would book it without hesitation. It was hands down the highlight of our New Zealand trip. After one incredible week, we made the drive back to Queenstown to begin our journey home. Over the course of the trip, we drove nearly 1,000 miles across New Zealand's South Island and spent about $200 on gas. For everything we were able to see and do, renting a car was absolutely the right choice for us. Looking back, splitting our time between Queenstown and Lake Tekapo turned out to be the perfect itinerary. We got to experience adventure, incredible food and wine, unforgettable hikes, and some of the most spectacular scenery we've ever seen. If you're planning your first trip to New Zealand's South Island and only have 1 week like us, I wouldn't hesitate to do this itinerary again. And if there's one experience I'd tell you not to miss, it's the scenic flight over Mount Cook. It wasn't just the highlight of our South Island trip, it was one of the most memorable travel experiences we've had. New Zealand's South Island is one of those places that stays with you long after you leave, and we already can't wait to go back. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next adventure.